Contrary to popular belief, the military doesn't just teach you how to follow orders. It teaches you how to lead when there aren't any orders left to follow. Those moments when the plan falls apart and everybody's looking for direction, that's where the real leadership actually begins. Hi, and welcome to the Everyday Diplomat. I'm Michael Forrest, a retired Marine Sergeant Major, former U.S. diplomat, and somebody who spent the better part of 20 years leading high-performing teams through crisis, conflict, and constant change. From joint commands with the Navy to diplomatic posts overseas, I've seen that leadership isn't just defined by the uniform that you wear. It's defined by how you carry yourself, how you handle adversity, and how you treat people when the pressures are at their peak. This week, we're diving into 3 military leadership lessons that will completely change how you lead, no matter where you work or what your title is. These lessons aren't about authority or command. They're about clarity, humility, and resilience. They're about the same principles that carried me through combat zones, embassy crises, and firehouse emergencies, and that I continue to use right now in the corporate and entrepreneurial worlds today. So let's break down what the military really teaches about leadership and how those same lessons can make you a more effective, grounded, and respected leader right now. You ever hear the word discipline before? I'm sure you have. It is one of the most misunderstood words in all of leadership. A lot of people think that it means control, rigidity, or even micromanagement, while in reality, discipline is all about clarity. It's the structure that allows you to move with confidence when everything else around you is starting to unravel. When I first joined the Marine Corps, the very first lesson began before we ever stepped into a classroom or a barracks. It started the moment that I got off the bus at Parris Island, in the dark, in the middle of the night, confused and completely exhausted. We were told to stand on a set of yellow footprints that were painted on the ground. Those same historic footprints have held every Marine who came before us. Most recruits don't realize it in the moment, but within seconds of arriving, they are already standing in a formation. Chaos became order, and that's how discipline starts. From that moment forward, every movement, every instruction, and every standard had a purpose. Even the smallest things like not cutting across the grass and sticking to the sidewalks, they seem arbitrary at first, but they aren't. Those rules are teaching something far deeper than compliance. They're teaching integrity in motion. You learn very quickly that shortcuts, even the harmless ones, they have a cost. The lesson is simple, but it's profound. Doing the right thing is still the right thing even when nobody else is looking. One of my favorite gifts from my entire career sits on my desk today. It's actually right here. It's a small brass compass. It's modest in appearance, but engraved on the inside are the words, "Leading with a moral compass. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it." It was given to me as a going away gift after a tour where I had faced multiple situations that tested my ethics and my integrity. There were opportunities left and right to take shortcuts, to do things that would have made my life a lot easier and perhaps even looked like success on paper, but they weren't the right thing to do. That compass meant so much to me because it represented something bigger than the job itself. It was a reminder that integrity and discipline are inseparable. Once you start making exceptions to your values, it gets easier to make them again and again. And soon, the standard you once held the line on begins to fade. During that assignment, I refused to compromise those standards. I wanted my Marines and sailors to see that doing the right thing is not situational. It's a habit. And once you lower that bar, it never rises again without cost. That gift given to me by my higher headquarters, it was their way of recognizing that moral discipline. It reminded me that no matter how much pressure you're under, your internal compass must always point true north. Discipline teaches you to make the right choices even when it's hard. It builds the habit of ethical consistency that people can rely on, and that reliability, doing what you say you're going to do when you said you would do it, is what builds trust more than any motivational speech ever could. Discipline is not about restriction. It's about freedom through structure. When your systems are solid and your standards are incredibly clear, you can move with confidence, adapt faster, and lead instead of reacting. It's the same reason that pilots use checklists before taking off and firefighters rehearse their drills over and over again. The goal is never perfection. The goal is preparation that leads to calm under immense pressure. That mindset is shared across every branch of service, and it's the reason that I have so much respect for the Navy, especially this week as we celebrate their 250th birthday. You guys thought I would forget, didn't you? Tisk, tisk. The Marine Corps was born from the sea, and our history is tied to the Navy's from day one. Over the years, I've served on multiple joint commands, working side by side with sailors who defined professionalism at sea. Their precision, calm under pressure, and relentless commitment to readiness taught me that discipline is not just about being strict, it's about being dependable. Different uniforms, same mission. Excellence under pressure. And that mission is built on disciplined preparation long before the storm has ever hit. For leaders outside the military, discipline looks different, but it serves the same purpose. It's the manager who plans before they promise. It's the business owner who reviews systems instead of blaming other people. It's the firefighter who checks their equipment one last time before walking into a call. These habits seem incredibly small, but they build the foundation for every confident decision that will follow. If that lesson resonates with you, please go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. Each week, we unpack real-world leadership principles that you can apply absolutely immediately. Next week, we're diving into emotional intelligence 2.0, because we did one earlier this year. It's mastering self-awareness, where we're going to actually connect this same idea and structure and composure to how you read the room and manage your emotions as a leader. Discipline creates freedom. It gives leaders the ability to stay steady, ethical, and focused, no matter how much chaos surrounds them. Humility is one of the most powerful tools that a leader can possess, yet it's also one of the hardest to master. It's very easy to be humble when things are going really well or when you have little authority. It's much harder when the title carries weight and people start treating you differently because of it. Throughout my career, I made a deliberate effort to never let my positions dictate my sense of importance. Even as a sergeant major, I never wanted to walk into a room and have people stand taller just because of my rank. I knew I was a sergeant major. No one needed to remind me of that. What mattered more was that I never forgot why I was there in the first place. In an organization of over 180,000 Marines, give or take, we flow from anywhere from the low 170s to 212s depending, right? But there's only about 500 sergeants major in the Marine Corps. That role carries immense responsibility, not privilege. My job was to uphold 3 priorities in perfect balance. These are my priorities. Respect the orders and the traditions of the organization, protect the well-being of the people, and then preserve the integrity of the process that holds both of those together. That balance is incredibly sacred. If you ever lean too far towards one side, the others begin to suffer. If you protect your people but ignore the standards, you breed chaos. If you enforce standards without showing compassion, you're going to completely crush morale. If you focus only on the process, you lose sight of the humans who actually make all of this possible. Leadership is about balancing all 3 without ever forgetting that you are there to serve. When leaders forget that service comes first, everything else is going to begin to erode. Humility reminds you that the title exists so that you can carry the burden, not avoid it. It keeps you approachable when other people might be intimidated. It allows people to bring you the truth instead of what they think that you want to hear. And that's where trust is built. When your people know that they can come to you without fear of judgment or repercussion. One of the biggest lessons that I learned as a senior enlisted leader was that trust cannot be demanded. It can only be earned over time and through repeat consistency. And honesty and genuine care for your people, let's not forget those. Titles and authority can open doors, sure, I'll give you that, but only humility is going to keep them open. I used to tell younger leaders that leadership is kind of like gravity. The higher you go, the greater the pull to lose touch with the ground. You have to fight that pull. You have to keep your boot in the dirt, connected to the people who actually do the real work, because if you lose sight of them, you lose sight of the entire mission. Humility is not weakness, not at all. It's confidence with discipline. It allows you to stand firm without needing to stand above anybody else. It's the quiet strength that earns lasting respect long after the rank comes off your collar. And it always does. That mindset is what I built into the first 30 days course. It's for new or newly promoted leaders who want to earn respect from day one, not through authority, but through credibility. If you want to build trust early, communicate clearly, and lead with authenticity, that's where you start. I'll go ahead and link it in the description below for those who are ready to learn and how to lead with humility and confidence right from the very beginning. You know, the longer I served, the more I understood that humility is not just a leadership trait. It's a moral responsibility. The moment that you think leadership is about you, you've already began to lose sight of what it truly means. Leadership is not about being in charge. Simon Sinek once said that it's about taking care of those in your charge. And when you live by that, people don't just follow your orders, they follow the examples that you make. Resilience is often mistaken for toughness, but they're not the same thing. Toughness is about resistance. Resilience is more about recovery. It's the ability to take the hit, stand back up, and then move forward with absolute purpose. I've lived a life that is full of moments that have tested my abilities, some more than others. Some were professional, others were deeply personal. Earlier in my career, I was placed in a military occupational specialty, an MOS that was being phased out. It would have been very easy to see that as the end of my path, but I worked really hard to become a Marine, and I learned quickly that when one door closes, resilience forces you to pick up and build on the next one. I pivoted, I adapted, and I continue to grow because giving up was never the standard that was modeled for me. There was also the time when resilience meant something much heavier. During one unaccompanied tour for an overseas assignment, my wife was back home pregnant with our first child, and I was thousands of miles away on the other side of the globe. That was one of the hardest experiences of my career at that time, not being able to be there for her in those moments. But I was incredibly fortunate that she was able to stay with my family, who surrounded her with support and morale, made the burden a little lighter. And it was a powerful reminder that resilience doesn't mean going through things alone. Sometimes it means recognizing that strength also comes from the people who help carry the weight with you. Then came the biggest test of all. A little more than halfway through my career, I had to have open heart surgery. Talk about a surprise. For most people in my position, that would have meant the end of the road. And I could have very easily chosen to settle and to say that, well, you know what, it's been a good run, I've had enough. But that wasn't an option for me. I refused to let that setback define the rest of my life. Instead of hyper-focusing on what I had lost, I focused on what I could rebuild. I used recovery as an opportunity to reset, to refocus, and remind myself of why I was still in the fight. That moment taught me that resilience is not about pretending that bad things don't happen. It's about confronting reality with honesty and then still choosing to move forward. Every challenge has a choice hidden inside of it, to dwell or to drive. Resilience also gets tested by the people around you, not just circumstances. I've worked for some of the most phenomenal leaders the Marine Corps has ever seen, but just the same, I've worked for some leaders who have made life, let's say, miserable. Leaders who abused their authority, created toxic environments, and seemed more focused on power than purpose. It took everything inside of me to not carry that burden home each and every day. And I had to remind myself that how I responded to them would either poison or strengthen the examples that I was setting for my Marines. Eventually, that environment cost me a promotion, and I was passed over for promotion to Sergeant Major because I refused to play the political game. I did what I knew was right, not what was convenient. At the time, it stung. It stung a lot, and it was one of the best lessons that I ever learned. Staying true to my values, even when it hurt, it ultimately led to the promotion to Sergeant Major in the end, and I got to go to a unit that truly needed what I had to offer. That's the essence of resilience. It's not about surviving the storm. It's about staying aligned with your purpose while you actually walk through it. It's about orienting yourself after every single stumble and then reassessing your course and then getting back to work. The people that you lead are always watching how you recover. They're always watching you no matter what you're doing, and they learn more from how you respond to your failures than from how you handle your successes. When you show them that progress is still possible, even in adversity, you teach them what perseverance actually looks like. Resilience is not built overnight. It's built through repetition, the daily decisions to show up, to keep your standards high, and then to lead with integrity, even when it feels like nobody else notices. That quiet endurance becomes your credibility. True resilience is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. It's what turns setbacks into lessons and lessons into growth and growth into influence. Leadership is not about perfection. You've heard me say that before. It's about consistency. It's the lessons that the military taught me: discipline, humility, and resilience. They're not reserved for uniforms or rank. They're human lessons. They're forged in the type of experiences that test who we are when nobody else is watching. When you lead with those three traits together, you create clarity, you earn trust, and you inspire confidence in the people who depend on you the most. That's what being an everyday diplomat is all about. If you want to keep building that mindset and get leadership insights that I only share off the camera, go ahead and join the Diplomat's Dispatch. It's my free leadership newsletter where I send practical lessons to help you lead with influence, composure, and purpose, wherever you serve. I'll provide the link in the description below. I'm Michael Forrest, and this is the Everyday Diplomat. I'll see you next time.